Hello and welcome to Koren Talmud Bavli, the Steinsaltz English Talmud. I'm your reader, Rav Betzalel, Rabbi Phil, if you like. I was privileged to be on the team to produce this wonderful Talmud, which in my humble opinion is the best English Talmud on the market. And it's go get the people. Now again, I give these classes every day, Mirz Hashem, for many years. And so again, we have at least two, maybe three classes a day for 5 days a week. That's 15 classes a week. That's 60 classes a month. And you need to support them. We have a few supporting them. It barely covers 1 week out of the month. And I'm very, very honored that these people are supporting and giving them the honor because I'm giving them. Usually people feel that they're being honored when you ask them to support. So I want to honor you to support. So far we have the Karen Zion family, Yaakov Tzvi ben Chaim Leib, Golda Vichna, Baron Yosef, Rachel Leah Bat Yaakov Tzvi, and Chaim Karen Zion. Their family, thank you for your support. Also, David Zibel, he is of the Golan Heights Distillery, perhaps the only single. This might be another one. I'm not sure. There was at one point, but this only single malt whiskey made in Israel is David Zibel, Golan Heights Distillery. Get yourself a bottle. David Zibel has been supporting this for some time, and. We also have Jay Davidson, honorable mention, and we have Michael Wieder, Moshe Wieder. We have Rabbi Joe Schoenwald is also supporting, and again, and there are many others who don't. There's Anonymous. Anonymous is giving. So, who else? Oh, another Anonymous. Two more. Yossi Khan of the Gratian's Clothing, who makes wonderful clothing. A good friend from Lubavitch. So the Tzemach Tzedek Shul. So again, all of you. Oh, of course, my good friend from the Tzemach, Mendy Levitin. Mendy Levitin is a strong supporter. Thank you very much, Mendy. Also Joe Burke, Dr. Joe Burke. I could go on, but again, what I'm telling you, and in all honesty, this is covering about 1 week of shiurim. Each shiur is 100 shekels. You get 100 shekels a month. You're covering one shiur, giving Torah, 50, 100, sometimes 200 views per class. It's bringing Torah to people during the COVID crisis who can't go to shiurim, and it's all free, of course. So I don't get anything other than what you give. And again, we need. Okay, so I'm not going to go on anymore with this. But if you want to be honored, please contact me. Contact me at bpe153@gmail.com. Or through my Facebook, Betzalel Philip Edwards, Betzalel, and then Philip, and then Edwards, 1 L in Philip. And friend me. You can contact me on Facebook. You can send me an email, and I can give you a PayPal. I can give you a bank account number. Even a small donation. We're talking about just $25 a month. Goes a long way. Okay, so now we're starting Daf Yud Aleph. So Rav Papa called Parsa Ufarsa Achel Chada Rifta Kasavar Mishur Ma'ayana. The Gemara relates that while Rav Papa traveled along each and every parsang, he would eat a loaf of bread. We're talking about what to eat on a journey. So, because he maintained that the prohibition of eating on a journey was due to the bowels. But he was healthy and he was not concerned that travel by road would irritate his bowels. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Kol Amar Ivatzmo B'shnei Ra'avon Nitzal Mimita Meshuna. Shmar Ra'av Padcha Mimavet. Merav Mibayele. Elahachi Kamar בישכר שמרעיב עצמו בשני רעבון ניצול ממיתה משונה. So famine, in famine, God will redeem you from death. If you starve yourself, meaning fast during a famine, God will redeem you from death. The fact that the verse does not state He will redeem you from famine, but rather He will redeem you from death, is an indication that you will be spared all types of unusual deaths. So Rav Yehuda said, the Rav said, anyone who has food for himself, but nevertheless starves himself in a year of famine, will be saved from unusual death. As it is stated, in famine He will redeem you from death. That's Job chapter 5. This is derived from the precise wording of the verse. According to its straightforward meaning, instead of in famine, it should have said from famine. As one is derived from, is delivered from famine. Rather, this is what the verse is saying. As a reward for starving himself in years of famine, Job will be saved from an unusual. So the halachas is this. In times of famine, one should eat less and allow himself to go hungry in accordance with the opinion of Rav Yehuda. Furthermore, it is prohibited to engage in marital relations during a famine, except on the night the wife ritually immerses herself. When she goes to the mikveh night, you can be with your wife during a famine. Otherwise, you're not supposed to be with your wife during a famine. Or couples who are yet without children, and also that's an exception. The other exception is a couple that does not yet have children. They can do it whenever they want, okay, within reason. Many authorities rule leniently in this regard, in accordance with the opinion that refraining from sexual relations during years of famine is an act of piety. It's an extra level. It's going beyond to the letter of the law. It's not a requirement. That's not the basic laws. See the Shari Tshuva on that. Others note that these regulations are not limited to times of famine, but they apply whenever the community is faced with an impending calamity. The asteroid is on its way to hit the Earth. You refrain from marital relations unless it's the mikveh night or etc. Haven't had kids yet. So that's all. If you want to read that in the original, go to the Shulchan Aruch or Achayim, Taf Kuf Ayin Dalet Sif Dalet, and look in the Ramah there. Amar Reish Lakish Asor Ladam Lishmitato B'Shnei Re'avon Shne'amar LiYosef Yulad Shnei V'nei B'Terem Tavo Shanat Arav Shnei V'Hana Chasuche Vanim Mishamshin Mitoteam B'Shnei Re'avon. Similarly, Reish Lakish said it's prohibited for a person to have conjugal relations in the years of famine, so that the children not be born during these difficult years. Makes sense. As it is stated, unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the year of famine. That's Genesis 41. It was taught in the Braita, nevertheless, without children may have marital relations in years of famine, as they must strive to fulfill the mitzvah of being fruitful and multiplying. Tanu Rabbanan, Bizman Shi Yisrael Shruyin Ba'Sa'ar, Uferash Malvin Shemalavin lo la'adam ulichin lo yedehan al rosho v'omrim ploni ze sheperash min hatzibor al yireh b'nechamat tzibor. Likewise, the sages taught in a Braita, when the Jewish people is immersed in distress, and one of them separates himself from the community and does not share in their suffering, 2 ministering angels who accompany a person come and place their hands upon his head as though he were an offering and say, this man, so-and-so, who has separated himself from the community, let him not see the consolation of the community. The halacha, one who separates himself from the community, parush min hatzibor, at a time of distress, when it is in his power to help the community in some way, the Magen Avraham, will not merit to see its eventual consolation. Conversely, Whoever participates in the community's suffering will merit solution. Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim Taf Kuf Ayin Dalet. Sif He. Siman He. The Sif and the Siman, I don't remember. Whatever, 574:5. Tanya Ida, similar ideas taught in another bright. Bisman shesibor shuri b'tzar al yomar adam elech levetiv ochel v'eshte v'shalom alayeshi. Ve'im oseken alav ha'ktuv omer hine sason v'simcha harog bakar v'shachot son achol basar v'shatayin achol v'shato ki machar namut. Ma kativ batre ונגלה ואוזני השם צבאות, אם יכופר העוון הזה לכם עד תמותון. אם יכופר העוון הזה לכם עד תמותון. When the community is immersed in suffering, a person may not say, I will go to my home and I will eat and drink, and peace be upon you, my soul. And if he does so, the verse says about him in Isaiah chapter 22, verse 13, and behold, joy and gladness, slaying oxen and killing sheep, eating flesh and drinking wine, let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we shall die. Prophecy continues with what is written afterwards in the following verse, quote, and the Lord of hosts revealed himself in my ears, surely this iniquity shall not be expiated by you until you die. The Breita comments, Ad midat benonim, aval b'midat rashayim, ma kativ? Etayu ekhayayin v'nispa'a shechar haya keze yom machar. Ma kativ batre hatzadik avad ve'en ish sam alev mipnei hara ne'asaf hatzadik. Up to this point, the attribute of middling people. Yep, middling. Meddling? The attribute of middling people who merely exclude themselves from the suffering of the community. That was what we were talking about up to now. However, with regard to the attribute of wicked people, what is written about those who hope for more of these days? Come, fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as this day, much more abundant. That's chapter 56. And what is written afterwards? The righteous perishes, tzaddik avad, and no man lays it to his heart, and godly men are taken away, none considering that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come. That's Isaiah 57, verse 1. This verse teaches that the righteous people suffer early death to prevent them from witnessing the harm that will befall these evil people. Let's read a little about the middling people, the wicked people, Benonim, Rashayim. The commentary suggests various explanations for the difference between those who are considered middling, that is to say, neither righteous nor wicked, and those who are classified as wicked. The commentary on the text follows Rashi, who explains although the members of the middle group refuse to show sympathy towards those who are in distress, they do recognize that they themselves are in danger, whereas the wicked imagine that they are immune to the perils threatening the community. Others suggest that although the middle group withdraw from the community in its time of need, they do so only in private, whereas the wicked declare publicly that they are unaffected by the problems of others. That's Rabbi Eliakim, the commentator. Yet other commentaries argue that although the members of the middle group are indifferent to the troubles suffered by the community, they repent when they themselves are struck by the same afflictions. By contrast, the wicked fail to repent even when suffering reaches their own doors. That's the Ritva. Ele yitza'er adam im tzibor, sheken matzinu b'Moshe Rabbeinu shi'er atzmo im tzibor, shneimar videh Moshe kvedim v'yichu even v'yosimu tachtav, vayeshev aleha. V'ki lo haya lo Moshe kar al echad o keset achat leshev alea. Elakach amar Moshe hoil v'Yisrael shruyin batar. Afani eye imahem bet sa'ar. V'kol hamatzaer atzmo im hatzibor zoche v'ro'eh b'mat tzibor. The Braita continues. Rather, a person should be distressed together with the community, as we found with Moses, our teacher, that he was distressed together with the community, as it is stated during the war with Amalek. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it, Exodus 17. But didn't Moses have one pillow or one cushion to sit upon? Why was he forced to sit upon a rock? Rather, Moses said as follows, since the Jewish people are immersed in suffering, I too will be with them in suffering as much as I am able, although I am not participating in the fighting. The Braita adds, and anyone who is distressed together with the community will merit seeing the consolation of the community. V'shema yomar adam, mi me'id bi? Avto shel adam, makorot beto shel adam me'idim bo, shene'amar, ki even mikir titzak, v'chapis me'etz ya'anena. Dvei Rabbi Sheila amari. Shene malachei asharet amalavin lo adam hen me'idin alav. Shenamar ki malachav yitzavela. The Braita further states, and lest the person say, I have acted in secret. Who will testify against me on the day of judgment? The Tana explains that the stones of a person's house and the beams of a person's house will testify against him. As it is stated, for a stone shall cry out from the wall, and a beam out of the timber shall answer it. That's Habakkuk 2:11. In the school of Rabbi Sheila, they say, the two ministering angels who accompany a person will testify against him. As it is stated, for he will give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. That's Psalm 91:11. Now let's look a little bit in the biography. Who is Rabbi Sheila? It says, Devei Rabbi Sheila, the school of Rabbi Sheila. Sheila was a Babylonian sage in the transitional generation between the Tanaim and the Amoraim. His school played an important role in Babylonia, as it was the only important academy there before Rav came. The major Amoraim, Rav and Shmuel, treated Rabbi Sheila with great respect, and when they established Torah centers, they did so in other cities so as not to detract from Rabbi Sheila's honor. Rabbi Sheila's academy apparently remained active for a considerable time after his passing, which is why there are statements delivered in the name of the school of Rabbi Sheila. Rav Hidka Omer, Nishmato shel Adam hi me'ida alav, shene'amar, Mishochevet Shamor Pitche Ficha. Mishochevet Chekecha Shamor Pitche Ficha. Yesh Varav Shel Adam Me'idim Bo, Shene'amar Atem Edai Neum Adonai. Rabbi Chidka said, a person's soul will testify against him, as it is stated, keep the doors of your mouth from her who lies in your bosom. That's Micha chapter 7. A man's limbs will testify against him, as it is stated, you are my witnesses, says the Lord. Isaiah chapter 43. El emunah havel, el emunah keshem she nifra'in min rashayim la'olam haba afilu al avera kala she'osin, kach nifra'in min tzadikim ba'olam hazeh al avera kala she'osin. The Braita cites another verse that deals with judgment, a God of faithfulness without iniquity. He is a just and righteous God. Deuteronomy chapter 32. The Braita interprets a God of faithfulness to mean that just as punishment is exacted from the wicked in the world to come, even for a light transgression that they commit, so too punishment is exacted from the righteous in this world for a light transgression that they commit. The righteous suffer the punishment in this world to purify them, so they can enjoy the world to come. Ve'en avel, כשם שמשלמים שכר לצדיק לעולם הבא, אפילו על מצווה קלה שעושים, כך משלמים שכר לרשעים בעולם הזה, אפילו על מצווה קלה שעושים. The writer turns to the second section of the verse, which says, and without iniquity. This teaches that just as reward is paid to the righteous in the world to come, even for a minor mitzvah that they fulfill, so too reward is for the wicked in this world, for even a minor mitzvah that they fulfill. To give the wicked all the reward they deserve for the performance of mitzvot in this world, deprive them of any share in the world to come. With regard to this third section of the verse, we have as follows. Tzadik v'yashar hu, amru bishat ptirato shel adam levetu al olamo. Kol ma'asav niftarim lefanav omrim lo kach v'kach asita b'makom peloni b'yom peloni. V'hu omer hen ve'omrim lo chatom v'chotem. Shenemar biyad kol adam yachtom. V'lo od elishe Matzkalav et adin, v'omer lahem yafeh dantuni lekayem ma shene'amar lema'an tak bedvarecha, leman tistak bedavrecha. He who is just and righteous, the sages say, at the hour of a person's departure to his eternal home, all his deeds are enumerated before him and are visible to him once again. And the deeds themselves say to him, you did such and such in such and such a place on such and such a day, and he is correct. And he signs it. As it is stated, he makes the hand of every man sign, Job chapter 37. And not only that, but after one has been shown all his deeds, he justifies the judgment upon them and says to them, you have judged me well. This response serves to fulfill that which is stated, that you may be justified when you speak and right when you judge, in Psalms 51. So ve'en avel. The Breita, as we said before, the Breita turns to the second section of the verse, and without iniquity. It says in Deuteronomy 32, a God of faithfulness when without iniquity, he is justice. Without iniquity, we said, it teaches that just as the reward is paid to the righteous in the world to come, even for a minor mitzvah, so the reward is paid to the wicked in this world for even a minor mitzvah, to give the wicked their reward in this world and to deprive them from the reward in the world to come. The early authorities cite different versions and interpretations of this passage. According to the standard Talmudic text, part of the verse, and the God of faithfulness teaches that punishment is exacted from the righteous in this world, even for the slightest transgressions, while the second part of the verse, and without iniquity, indicates that reward is paid to the wicked in this world for even a small mitzvah, as we had said before twice. She explains in his commentary on the verse that both parts promise that one will ultimately for his mitzvot. Both parts of the verse promise that one will ultimately be rewarded for his mitzvot. The phrase, a God of faithfulness, teaches that God will reward the righteous in the world to come, while the expression without iniquity means that he will reward the wicked in this world. Other commentaries prefer the version of the Shimoni, according to which the first part of the verse is referring to all aspects of God's justice. The reward paid to the righteous and to the wicked, as well as the punishment meted out to both the righteous and the wicked. The second part of the verse teaches the subsequent claim of the Breita that when one dies, all his deeds appear before him and remind him of all he did in the course of his lifetime. From the third part of the verse, he is just and righteous, it is derived that when the deceased receives his punishment, he accepts the punishment judgment and confesses his sin. That's the Maharsha. Amar Shmuel, Kol Yoshev B'Tanid Nikra Choteh, Savar Ki Haytana. The Tanya, Rabbi Elazar Akapar, Rabbi Omer. Ma Chiper Alav Me'asher Chata Ala Nafesh. V'ki be'eze nefesh chata zeh, ela shi'er atzmo min hayayin. The Gemara returns to the primary topic of the tractate, the issue of fasts. Shmuel said, whoever is in observance of a fast is called a sinner, as it is inappropriate to take unnecessary suffering upon himself. This is he takes a voluntary fast upon himself, could be considered a sin. Shmuel holds in accordance with the opinion of the following Tana, as is taught in a Braita. Rabbi Elazar Kapar, the Great, says, what is the meaning of the verse that states, with regard to a Nazarite, and he will atone for him that has sinned, that he sinned by the soul, and he will atone for him for the sin, and he will atone for him for that he sinned by the soul, the nefesh. That's Numbers chapter 6. But with what soul did this Nazarite sin? Where the Nazarite sinned by the distress he caused himself when he abstained from wine, in accordance with the terms of his vow. V'lo dvarim kal v'chomer, o ma zeh shelo tzier atzmo ela min hayayin, nikra choteh hamatzer atzmo mikol davar v'davar, al achad kama v'kama. Umaze shelo tzier atzmo ela min hayayin, nikra choteh hamatzer atzmo mikol davar v'davar, al achad kama v'kama. And are these matters not inferred a fortiori? And if this Nazarite who distressed himself by abstaining from only wine is nevertheless called a sinner and requires atonement, then with regard to one who distresses himself by abstaining from each and every matter of food and drink when he fasts, all the more so should he be considered a sinner. Rabbi Elazar Omer, Nikra Kadosh Ne'amar Kadosh Yeh Gadel Perash Sa'ar Rosho שלא צייר עצמו אלא בדבר אחד נקרא קדוש המצער עצמו מכל דבר על אחת וכמה וכמה ולשמואל כל פרקאי ולרבי אלעזר הנקרא חוטא ההוא דסאב נפשה ומי אמר רבי אלעזר אחי ואמר רבי אלעזר לעולם ימוד אדם עצמו כאילו קדוש שרוי בתוך מאיו שנאמר בקרבך הקדוש לא אבוא בעיר לא קשה, had matzeh l'tzaure nafshe, had lo matzeh tzaure. Conversely, Rebbe Elazar says, it's called sacred. As it is said, he shall be sacred. He shall let the locks of his hair of his head grow long. And if this who distresses himself from only one matter is called sacred, one who distresses himself from every matter, all the more so. And according to Shmuel, the Nazarite is indeed called sacred. That is referring to the sanctity of the growth of the locks, as the Nazarite's hair does possess an element of sanctity, but it does not refer to the Nazarite himself. So the Gemara reverses the question, and according to the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, the Nazarite is called a sinner. The Gemara answers, that verse refers specifically to a Nazarite who rendered himself ritually impure. He has to bring the offering. For he is, and did Rabbi Elazar actually say this, that fasting is a virtuous act? But didn't Rabbi Elazar say a person should always consider himself as though sacred objects are immersed in his bowels, which he may not damage? It is said, the sacred in your midst, and I will not come into the city, in Hosea chapter 11. This statement indicates that it is prohibited to take a fast upon himself. The Gemara answers, this is not a difficulty. The first ruling, that one who fasts is sacred, is to a case where he's able to distress himself without causing bodily harm. The second ruling, that one may not overly burden his body, deals with the situation he is unable to distress himself while avoiding all harm, and he proceeds to fast nonetheless. So the halacha, one who observes a fast when he is able to do so without causing himself bodily harm is considered sacred. However, one who does so when he's weak is called a sinner, in accordance of the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. The ruling applies only to one who observes the fast as an act of piety. However, one who knows that he has committed a transgression is required to fast even if he is weak or ill. That's the Taz. The authorities associate with the moralistic Musar movement. The authorities who are have suggested a variety of alternatives to fasting for those who seek atonement for their sins. These include refraining from eating certain foods, refraining from speech. A fast of words is also a fast. And secluding oneself in private reflection, being alone, is like a fast. That's the Magen Avraham, the Shulchan Aruch, or Achayim 571, the section 1. Reish Lakish Amar Nikra Chasid Shneimar Gomel Nafsho Ish Chassid V'Ocher She'ero Amar Rav Sheshet Hai Bar Rav Deyati B'Tanita Lichul Kalba L'Sherute. Reish Lakish said, one who fasts is called pious. That is stated, the pious man does good, gomel, to his own soul, but he who troubles his flesh is cruel. Proverbs 11. The verb gomel can also mean weaning or abstaining from unnecessary pleasure. Accordingly, Reish Lakish derives from this verse that one who abstains from food is called pious. Rav Sheshet said, this student of a Torah academy who sits in observance of a fast has let a dog eat his portion. Since his fast weakens him and prevents him from studying Torah, it is considered as though a dog ate his meal and the student derived no benefit from it. Let a dog eat his portion. Rashi says that a Torah scholar who observes a fast gains nothing, and therefore he is likened to one who refrains from eating because a dog has consumed his meal. Some commentaries interpret Rav Sheshet's remark as a curse. As for a Torah scholar who observes a fast, may a dog eat his meal. Shita Mekubetzet. Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, Ein Tanit Tzibor b'Bavel Ela Tisha b'Avad. Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, Amar Reish Lakish, Ein Talmid Chacham Rashai Leshev Tanit Mibnei Shemama'et b'Melechet Shamayim. Rav Yirmiyah bar Ashi said there is no complete stringency. There is no completely stringent communal fast in Babylonia except for the 9th of Av alone. All other fasts, even those which are fixed and routine for the community, are treated as individual fasts with regard to both the customs of the fast and the halachot of who is obligated to fast. Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba said that Reish Lakish said a Torah scholar is not permitted to sit in observance of a fast due to the fact that his fasting reduces his strength for the heavy service of Torah study and mitzvot. Halacha, communal fasts in Babylonia. All fasts in Babylonia or anywhere outside of Eretz Yisrael are treated as individual fasts apart from the 9th of Av and Yom Kippur. This means that outside Eretz Yisrael, the 9th of Av and Yom Kippur are the only time when work is prohibited and the fast starts in the evening. Even fasts decreed upon the community is treated as individual fasts outside of Eretz Yisrael. So the next halacha, Ein Talmid Chacham Rashai Leshev B'Tanit, that a Torah scholar is forbidden from fasting. It is prohibited for a Torah scholar to accept a fast upon himself as it diminishes his capacity to study Torah. However, if the entire community is fasting, he should do so as well, so as not to separate himself from the community. Whoever spends all his time is called a Torah scholar for the purposes of this halacha, even nowadays. Teachers of school children are also considered Torah scholars, as explicitly stated in the Yerushalmi. Ochlin v'shotin me'shechashecha. Amar Rabbi Ze'era, Amar Rav Huna, Yachid shekibel olav ta'anit, afilo chal v'shota kol halayla. Lemachar hu mitpalel tfilat ta'anit. Lan b'ta'anito, eno mitpalel shel ta'anit. The Mishnah taught that during the first sets of fasts, they eat and drink from after dark and begin fasting in the morning. Rabbi Zera said that Rav Huna said, with regard to an individual who took a fast upon himself, even if he ate and drank the entire night. On the following day, he prays in the Amidah the prayer of a fast, which begins, "Answer us on the day of our fast." If after completing his fast, he slept in his fast, i.e., he continued fasting throughout the night, he does not pray the prayer of a fast the next morning. Amar Rav Yosef, Mai kasavar Rav Huna, Svir le ein mitanin l'shaot. Svir le ein mitanin l'shaot? O Dilma mitanin l'shaot. V'mitane l'shaot enu mitpalel tfilat ta'anit. Rav Yosef said, what does Rav Huna maintain in this regard? Does he hold that one who does not fast for only a few hours, that is to say, fasts that do not last from daybreak until nightfall are not considered fast at all, and therefore these extra hours of the night are not part of his fast? Or perhaps he holds that one does fast for a few hours, but one fasts for a few hours, one who fasts for a few hours does not pray the prayer of a fast. Amar lo Abaye, le'olam kasavar Rav Huna mitanin l'shaot v'mitane l'shaot mitpalel tfilat ta'anit. Shayni hachad ika shaot delelia delo kabel alea mi'ikara. Abaye said to Rav Yosef, actually Rav Huna holds that one does fast for hours, and one who fasts for a few hours does pray the prayer of a fast. But it is different here, as there are hours of the night that he did not take upon himself at the outset, since one must take an individual fast upon himself beforehand. He continues his fast into the night. These extra hours are not part of his obligation, and therefore he does not add the special prayers for fast anenu on the following morning. We are going to pause here and tomorrow continue with more Gemara Tani. God bless.